This is the BG Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I am Bax.
And this is Sam.
Good Thursday morning to you, Sam. The week is nearly over. We have made it, and it is time once again to talk about the NFL.
Finally.
Not like we haven't talked about it the rest of the week, but even still, we can talk about it again and not have a problem about it because Thursday Night Football is tonight.
There is a football game tonight. The Battle of Ohio.
I remember when anybody cared about that game.
I know.
Bengals, Browns, that's a lot of fun things to discuss about. I'm sure that some folks will be looking to speak about it. However, we'll be talking about that a little bit later on in the show because Bleacher Report's David Kenyon will finally be back, Sam. Finally.
It's nice.
I know. It's not even his fault either. It's been our communication in terms of our equipment that we've been using. So, Lord willing, everything works out today, and we will be happy to have him back and chatting about all kinds of crazy things that we will be doing about Week 9 of the NFL. It's really weird. It's 9 weeks into the NFL already, so we're going to blink and be like, I miss the NFL.
Don't talk about it yet. I'm
trying not to. We got to enjoy it.
I want to enjoy it while it's here.
Enjoy every single moment of it, folks, because the NFL is here and gone before you know it, and then we're all left wondering what just happened. It's kind of, yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a hard night of partying. You wake up the next morning, you're like, what just happened? And you're like, I don't know. That's kind of how the NFL goes. Like, boom, done.
And it's gone.
Exactly. Well, wow, that was fun. All right. Well, Sam, before we jump into things here, we want to take a quick moment to remind everybody that you can find us every Monday through Friday right here live on Spreaker.com from 7 to 8 a.m. Central. You also can get us right here on Periscope. What up, everybody on Periscope? We've already got somebody from Russia that's checked in. Good morning to you out in Russia. Well, actually, probably like good evening. They're probably about 10 or 11 hours ahead of us. So good evening to all of you out there in Russia. Stay warm. It's a little chilly here, but we're great to have you all here watching and listening to the show. And we also are on Sports Radio America as well from 11 to 1 p.m. Central Time on sportsradioamerica.com, live 365, and tune in. And we are on demand anytime on iHeartRadio, Spreaker.com, and on iTunes as well. And then, Sam, on social media.
You can find us on social media on Facebook at The BG Sports Show, on Twitter at BG Sports Show, as well as Instagram, BG Sports Show. And then you can tweet at us at the show, at The BG Sports Show. He's at Baxter Colburn, and I am at Samuel_Wallace, too.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you want to join in the conversation, like we just mentioned, get us on Twitter or join the conversation here on Periscope as well. We'd love to hear from you about anything that we're chatting about on the show today. All right, well, not only do we get David Kenyon today, Sam, we get him not for one segment, not for two segments, but for 3 segments.
3?
The amount of times it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop is the amount of times that we have David Kenyon.
We got to start making up for lost time.
We really do. So we're going to leave. David's just going to talk the whole show, and we're just going to go.
All right.
So if that works for you, David, that's completely fine with us. If that's something you feel like doing this,
I will just monologue my way through a half an hour.
That's perfectly fine. That's
usually what we do.
Yeah, right. I don't know how we have jobs, honestly. Yeah. But good morning to you, David. It's great to finally have you back on the show. It's been long awaited, and the first thing that we're going to talk about right away is something that you have been asking to finally talk about. So I have no idea which direction you want to actually take it, but I know that you have so many things to speak about the great quarterbacks that are Jay Cutler and Colin Kaepernick. So I'll leave the floor open to you to start the discussion, and then Sam and I will jump in if you give us a second to talk. So after you, Sam.
Yeah, jump in whenever. All right, so this is something that's been on my mind. We had mentioned this earlier in the year. I think we teased it, actually, and then we had those technological problems, but hey, it happens. And it's a perfect time, actually, because we see Colin Kaepernick get benched on the San Francisco 49ers. And it's a perfect example of ignoring what your best is. And Colin Kaepernick has had a terrible year, and that's not completely his fault. Yes, he's thrown a ton of balls into the ground and short-hopped them, and that's a big issue. But let's not forget that there's been so many changes in San Francisco, and most notably, the offense went from Jim Harbaugh to Jeep Christ, who he's been, beyond terrible is not even an apt descriptor. Jeep Christ is just so bad. Like, he's failed at coaching everywhere he's gone, from what I understand, and then they gave him an offensive coordinator job in the NFL.
That seems like the next logical step, honestly.
I would think so. You talk about failing up, and that's where your guy is. But the other thing is you get all these criticisms of these quarterbacks, and the perfect example earlier this year was Jay Cutler. Everybody was like, "Oh, Cutler's so bad. Cutler's so bad. Cutler's so bad." Well, Cutler's not Tom Brady.
Obviously.
But look what came in. Jimmy Clausen. And they went 10 possessions and 10 punts. And then you get the Cowboys. Everybody's like, "Oh, Romo's not clutch. Romo. The Cowboys haven't won a game, and they've completed like, and I'm pulling this just out of thin air, but like 4 passes of more than 10 yards. It's been first read, oh, no way. Second read, check down. Every single pass play, basically, it's check down, check down, check down.
Exactly. No, and I completely understand that, and I think as people that are even fantasy owners as well, they probably realize, like, wow, having Dallas receivers, or even Jason Witten. I saw Jason Witten got dropped in our fantasy league this week because of his lack of production, but that is probably because of not having Tony Romo in, who is used to throwing to Jason Witten, who is arguably his favorite target. Even though Des Bryant is back right now, that still doesn't change the fact that Dallas just doesn't have a good quarterback when Tony Romo's not on the field.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just the biggest thing to remember is everybody wants to have Tom Brady. Well, here's the thing. There's about 4 Tom Bradys in the league. And you don't luck into them to the degree of
was that a pun referencing Andrew Luck?
Well, no, it actually wasn't, but
okay.
I mean, he's there too, not having a good year. But anyway, the point is, like, you can't pick them up off the free agent market. Mm-hmm. If there was someone there, they're there for a reason.
That's true.
There are like 64 jobs plus the random teams who pick up 3 or carry a third on the practice squad. So you're talking about 80 quarterback jobs, and if you're not in the top 80, there's a good reason for that.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a hard field to get into. I mean, even look at teams like Cleveland too. They can't make up their mind. Is it going to be Josh McCown? Is it Johnny Manziel? Even if they're both healthy, I feel like there's rumors every week. Even down in Houston, they cut Ryan Mallett, and Ryan Mallett he's even started some games this year. It's being an NFL quarterback is not exactly a walk in the park for anybody.
No, exactly. And like I had mentioned, like you have Tom Brady, you have Aaron Rodgers, and you had Peyton Manning, and he's fine. He's been doing fine lately. And then Andrew Luck. And
if he's lucky.
Yeah. Ordinarily.
Sorry, Sam hit me. I deserve that one. He hit me on that one. My bad.
And then Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, those are your top tier guys.
Yeah.
And you can make arguments for Romo, and at this point in time, Carson Palmer, even
with the
Cam
season
Newton.
that he's having, absolutely.
I mean, but that's the thing is you're looking at a bunch of second tier guys who are fantastic, and then you have your third tier, which is like Cutler and Stafford. But you think if the Lions benched Stafford and went to Dan Orlovsky,
oh dear God,
on a regular, like a full-time starting basis, the Lions would not only lose, they'd lose by 30 every game.
Exactly. It would be just a terrible, terrible thing. And I don't understand. I mean, as bad as the Lions are playing right now, Matthew Stafford is still a good quarterback.
Yeah, and so that's just kind of my what's the word?
I mean, it's a mini rant. I mean, you were
semi-ranty.
It's a
little bit of a rant.
It wasn't a straight barrage of attacking, but I get what you were going with though.
Yeah, you bring up a good point too, David, about how a lot of these NFL teams, I don't know if they just have this perception that there's this big quarterback shop down the road where
it's really not.
If you don't like your current one, you can just go grab a new one. But you're right, it's such a shallow, specific, very skilled position that a lot of times, unfortunately, teams have to make do with what they have, regardless.
Exactly, and I think that's something that a lot of fantasy owners and just people in general forget. They're like, oh, well, we've got Matthew Stafford as our quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but, well, that's great that you might have him as a good quarterback or he might have good arm strength, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to just make players great around him. I don't feel like that's the type of player that Stafford is. We see it Tom Brady, we see a Manning, a Rodgers, even Andrew Luck for a little bit. Those quarterbacks make the players around them so much better. Nothing against Matthew Stafford, but he's just not that type of guy. That's just not who he is.
Exactly, but then you look at the next step, and you're not going to have someone who makes anyone better. He's not going to make himself better. Mm-hmm. And you can't turn away from Stafford. Now, with that being said, should the Lions go after a quarterback in the draft? That's something we will eventually discuss.
It will be, yes. I think Stafford's still got a few more years left in him. That's not a conversation to have at this exact moment.
Right, but I mean, if you're at the top of the draft, do you go after? Some of these teams are going to have to decide, do you want that third-tier quarterback or do you want to take a draft pick? But you're not going to sacrifice that third-tier quarterback for, we'll say, Brian Hoyer. Now, the Texans kind of did that. Ryan Fitzpatrick's a little bit better than people give him credit for, but that's not really important.
No, I mean, well, look at, you even talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick, though, too. I mean, because I usually classify quarterbacks as elite, great, and good, and then the rest just kind of whatever, just happen to show up to the party if they're asked to be there. I would call Fitzpatrick that borderline good, great quarterback because of how well he's played so far this season. And you were the one that was even advocating hardcore for him, too, saying he's a good quarterback. And I was like, okay, David, sure. I wasn't buying what you were trying to sell me. But after seeing how he's played, even though he's got his left hand injury right now, he's still a good quarterback. I would have full confidence saying, all right, I need to win a game. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the guy at my disposal. Okay, let's go do it. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the mistake that the Texans have seen. They're in first place, la-di-da.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you have Ryan Fitzpatrick under center, at least he's a better option than Brian Hoyer. Maybe
I would
the
take
Texans
Fitzpatrick
finish
over
off
him.
the Colts, and they're 4-4 and in the lead.
Mm-hmm. No, I absolutely agree with you on that one. There's no real argument against that. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick will be, in my opinion, a better step above Hoyer and some of those mid-level guys for the rest of his career. So, will Fitzpatrick ever be an elite quarterback? Probably not. I don't think he will ever. I don't think he just has the makeup to be an elite quarterback. Do you agree with that, Sam?
I agree. I think he's got the tools to be a very, very good, possibly, like you said, great quarterback. But unless he gets just some incredible weapons around him that make him good, I don't see him pulling a lot of average wide receivers and making them great.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. It just makes it very difficult to feel like there's any possibility of him taking that next step. I think he's too far in his career right now. Not like he's an old guy. I mean, that beard kind of makes him look ancient, but not like he's exceptionally old, but I just feel like he's too far.
Yeah.
He's too far in his career to make that jump over. So, all right, well, we are going to jump to a break. When we come back, David has his previews of the upcoming action in the NFL. He'll highlight some big games for us, maybe even chat a little bit about the Battle of Ohio and if fans even need to bother trying to turn the game on tonight or if they should just do something else. Maybe watch the World Series of Poker.
Put the kids to bed.
Exactly. Put the kids to bed at a reasonable hour. We'll be right back with more here on the BG Sports Show. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
All right, Sam, we have on the line with us David Kenyon of Bleacher Report. He was here with us in the first segment and now is returned for another. So good morning, David. Great to have you back on the show. Maybe. David? Did we lose you?
Got it.
There it is.
Got it. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back, David. We're
Glad to have you.
Glad to have you. What happened there? Did you trip and fall, or where'd you go?
I was accidentally on mute.
That'll gets me every time too. Sometimes it's just that one little button you got to push, but
It's always one button.
It really is. Anyway, well, good morning, David. We are here now to chat with you about the upcoming action in the NFL in Week 9. Can you believe it's Week 9 already, David?
I was just thinking about that, and Week 10 in college football, and that's 2/3 over, and
my goodness,
NFL's half over, and slow down.
We're halfway there. We're more than halfway there. It's going by way too fast. I think we have so much hype, so much build-up to get to this point in the season where everyone is so excited, like, who's going to go to the Super Bowl? And then it's over, and everyone's like, this sucks. I hate the NFL. It goes by too fast. And everyone's like, let's extend the season. I get it. The NFL is a very contagious drug.
Then we all kind of simmer down for the summer a little bit.
We go spend time with our family, go to a baseball game because we have nothing better to do, and then training camp comes around and people freak out.
Preseason.
I thought it was ridiculous. The first preseason game, I think the Hall of Fame game, had massive ratings because everybody was just so desperate to watch people play football again. It was funny. It was really funny. All right, so this coming week of action, David, looking at some of the games. Let's start with the Thursday night game that's taking place tonight at Paul Brown Stadium in the great city of Cincinnati. Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals. Do people even need to bother with this game tonight?
I mean, you can watch the first half and it'll be fun.
I suppose.
Yeah.
That's about all that people really need to do, though, for this game?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you think Bengals on a short week against the Browns on a short week. You got the Browns who have two offensive linemen who knew they were going to be traded, or at least the team tried very hard to get them traded. Mm-hmm. And now they have to protect Johnny Manziel. And there's no Manziel fever here. Cincinnati won't be like, oh, we have to deal. Well, you know what they did to Johnny Manziel last year in his first career start? They beat him 30-0.
Yeah, they kind of pounded him into the ground, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I don't think they're very worried about it. The run game always wins Thursday night. It's just the way it goes. And Cincinnati has Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard, who haven't really done that well this year. But if there's ever a game that you want to get those two back on track, it would be against Cleveland. Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely.
They're 2-6, for God's sakes.
They're 2-6, and they have a pretty bad run defense. They're, the worst in the league. So it's kind of a prime opportunity here for Cincinnati to get the running game on track going into their tough part of the season.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think Cincinnati's really not going to have any trouble in this game at all. There's just too much is going well for them right now. It would be funny as heck if the Browns found a way to win, but I just don't foresee that happening.
No, I don't understand how that would happen unless we see Bad Andy, and I don't think Bad Andy Dalton is going to happen.
But it's all because of his good haircut. That's the reason the Bengals are doing so well, David. Don't you know that?
Oh, give me a break.
I had to mention it. I had to do it at least once. I mean, his hair looks good, let's be honest.
Well, yeah, it can be good hair, but I don't think that's affecting his arm.
Moving on. Stranger things have happened. Sports Science, I'm sure I'll do a segment about it. All right, the Redskins and Patriots. Is this a trap game for the Patriots, Sam, do you think?
I don't see Kirk Cousins beating the Patriots in Foxborough.
No?
I just don't see it happening.
Anything is possible. I mean, the Patriots are undefeated at home and undefeated
true.
Overall.
That's why they play the game, but I just don't think the Redskins are going to be the ones to do it.
Deshaun Jackson comes back this week, David. Is there anything that he can do to make this game close?
Nope.
Okay, that's all I needed. Moving on, Saints and Titans. The Titans are still battling for a possible playoff spot, which is just awful. Although, Sam, you think the Saints are just going to keep on marching. They're going to go above. They're going to go 5-4 this week, you feel, against the Titans?
Oh, absolutely. It's in New Orleans. Drew Brees is smoking hot right now. It's just going to keep happening.
David, what are your thoughts about this Saints team that has certainly found its new exuberance and just power?
I think Marcus Mariota, if he's back for Tennessee and completely healthy, I think this is a high-scoring game. The Saints' defense is just bad. But
no kidding.
The Titans' defense is just badder against Drew Brees. So, obviously, going with the Saints here.
Okay. Dolphins and the Bills. David, you fancy yourself I don't know if – I mean, you're a media person, so I can't say you're a fan. But you enjoy the Dolphins?
Oh yeah, I can say I'm a fan,
Okay,
but I'm
fair
not.
enough.
I'm not going to be a homer about it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I think Miami has a big chance in this game, and I think LaShawn McCoy had mentioned this earlier in the week. It's really hard to beat a team twice, and Miami got embarrassed by the Bills last time. I think they do keep it close, much closer than I don't even remember what the score is, like 43-14. It was 41-14. I think Miami keeps it close. I do think Buffalo pulls it out, but this will be a much better game from Miami. It's a game they have to have, too.
It is, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a crucial divisional game, too. I mean, not that either of these teams are really going to do anything much to keep pace with the Patriots right now, but if they do want to have a possibility of even grabbing a wild card spot, this game does mean a lot for them.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the point here. These teams are playing for wild card spots, and Miami they put themselves in a deep, deep hole. They're 0-3 in the division. They're not going to have tiebreakers unless they knock out every team remaining on the division slate, and that's one each against all those teams. But I mean, the Bills will be in better shape, and I do think the Bills pull.
Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler coming in there, gonna play a little bit, see what happens.
Oh, speaking of them, they're a mess. But anyway, the Bills pull this out.
Fair enough. All right, Rams-Vikings, an interesting game. Traditionally, maybe something that folks wouldn't bother keeping too big of an eye on. But, Sam, the Rams, looking pretty good. Todd Gurley, he's kind of a good little player there. He's
not bad.
He's starting to come around, figure out his what's going on in the NFL. And then the Vikings, they're looking like the real deal so far. They're 5-2. P.S. If you want to go to this game, tickets are only $58 on StubHub. Get after it. I'd go watch this game for $58. But anyway, Sam, what do you like about this game?
I like the Vikings at home. They're 3-0 at home. The Rams are only 1-2 on the road, and I really do like what Teddy Bridgewater's been doing. I think Todd Gurley's going to have a good game, but I think it's going to be too little, too late for the Rams.
Interesting. Okay, and for you, David, for Adrian Peterson, his semi lack of production, do you think that against a good Rams defense that this could be another struggling game for him, or will he finally break out?
I think this is a definite struggle game. I'm kind of leaning. My gut is telling me the Rams. I don't know why, and I don't think I have the numbers because, like Sam mentioned, Minnesota's good at home, and the Rams are mediocre on the road.
True.
But
interesting, yeah. I mean, Nick Foles hasn't played exceptionally well this season, any way you really cut it. So against a fairly good Vikings defense, this could be a long day for the Rams offense.
Yeah, the thing is, when the Rams went to Lambeau and they played the Packers, they were Nick Foles interceptions away from beating the Packers.
Exactly.
So I just feel like this is the time that the Rams get that big win on the road.
Okay.
Just because Gurley has done so much. And the Vikings' run defense is tough. There's no denying that.
Yes.
So I think it'll be a close game either way, but just gut feeling Rams win.
Okay. Moving on, next game, Jets-Jaguars. Don't need to spend a ton of time on this one. If all goes well, I would assume the Jets would pull out a victory, although Blake Bortles is looking fairly good so far this season. Is there any way to really think that the Jaguars could win this game at all?
No turnovers, then they have a chance, but that New York secondary against Bortles, that could be a long day.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that one. The Raiders having a reemergence in the NFL this season. They're 2-1 on the road. They go to Pittsburgh, so they're going cross country, so that might affect a little bit about how they're doing. Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger played awful in his first game, but traditionally he's never had a good first game back after an injury. So now, Sam, if you are the Steelers going against a Raiders team that seems to be fairly hot, how do you feel about that game?
I think if you're the Steelers, you got to keep pounding the ball with D'Angelo Williams and keep the Raiders' offense on the sidelines. I really like what Derek Carr is doing with his receiving core right now. I think if they get rolling, it can get long for the Steelers. But if the Steelers really grind it out, I like their chances.
Fair enough. All right, David, give me your thoughts on the Giants-Buccaneers game, another game that I feel that could have more implications on it just because of how weird both teams' respective divisions are. The Giants are 4-4, Buccaneers are 3-4. Does Jameis Winston lead his Buccaneers to a victory over the Giants?
I don't think so, but I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Manning will just do enough against the Bucs defense. Really isn't that great. I don't understand the Falcons, and I think we're getting to them next, but so I'll touch on it there. but I think Eli Manning will have enough. And I hate to really do this, honestly, because he had the 6-touchdown game week last week. So you just want to say, oh, he's going to keep that going and he's going to dominate. But I don't know. I just see 4 touchdowns out of him this week, just because the Bucs defense is so bad.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. This Tampa Bay defense has never been they haven't been that good since that one year that they won the Super Bowl. That's the best I think Tampa Bay's defense has ever been.
Well, that's one of the best defenses ever. But.
Exactly. No, that's 100% true. All right, Falcons going up against Blaine Gabbert. Does this 49ers team find a way to rally behind Blaine Gabbert and show the world that they are relevant?
No. No, they don't.
I didn't think so. I mean, you got to build it up sometimes. I mean, anything can happen, Sam. That's why they play the game. That's why you tell me that every single day. That's why they play the game. Yeah, I don't foresee anything really weird happening in this game, though.
The thing is, Atlanta has been so frustrating. They have pieces on pieces on pieces on pieces, but then they cross the 30-yard line, and that offense just becomes ridiculously inept.
True.
At least since Devontae Freeman's really good games. And I don't even know what the problem is, to the point of they haven't changed their game plan. It's just stopped working. I know one thing teams have done is start to, I guess you want to call it, shadow Julio Jones. You put a safety over the top who protects against the slant, and you have the cornerback take outside position to cover the fade. Mm-hmm. But that should open Freeman on the ground. So I don't know. That's a problem Atlanta needs to fix. They're a little predictable in the red zone with their play calling too.
Agreed.
If I'm calling the plays before they happen, that's an issue. But I mean, San Francisco. Well, yeah. But San Francisco is just so bad, and Gabbert is so bad.
Sam, any rebuttal to that at all?
Not really.
No? I mean, that makes sense. All right, well, Sam, take us through these last few games here. Broncos, Colts, Eagles, Cowboys, and Bears, Chargers. Anything out of those games really stand out to you at all before we jump to a break?
Just that Sunday night game, Eagles, Cowboys, just that division matchup. I think a lot of things could happen if the Cowboys manage to win. It is in Texas, but I just don't see the Eagles losing on the road.
David, any thoughts about that Broncos defense against a weak Andrew Luck and the Colts?
Andrew Luck might die.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
No, that's fine. I mean, and then Chargers, Bears, Monday Night Football. I get what they're trying to do to give different teams possibilities of getting out in front of the national media, but, I mean, they should know better. Come on.
The Bears weren't supposed to be this bad.
That's true. I don't think the Chargers are supposed to be this bad either.
That's true.
Losing Keenan Allen's going to be detrimental for them this year. All right, well, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up with David Kenyon of Bleacher Report. We are going to play Fact or Fiction and see how myself, Sam, and David Kenyon all feel about certain things happening in the football world. We'll be right back. This is the BG Sports Show. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
Are you sure?
Yep.
You all right?
I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay. Do you need a moment?
No, I'm good.
Okay. You sure?
Yep.
All right. Well, before we play Fact or Fiction, Sam, we need to take a quick moment and thank one of our show sponsors, Student Debt Center of America. They are doing a great job of helping students get out of their student loan debts and helping them reduce their payments as well. You can get a hold of them by calling 855-401-3508. You can call them now before Congress makes cuts to the national budget, which will nullify that free program. Remember, that number is 855-401-3508. Get your student loans reduced today. That is Student Debt Center. All right. Well, we are chatting with David Kenyon of Bleacher Report as he has joined us for the first two segments of the show. So welcome back to the program, David. How are you, sir?
I am doing even better than I was 30 seconds ago.
Well, I am so glad that we could be a part of your journey to make your day such a better thing.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we are going to play a game called Fact or Fiction. It's a game. It's not a game. It's a little bit of a game. Basically, the way it works is I will offer up a fact or fiction statement, and you, myself, and Sam will each offer a 1 to 2 sentence thought about it. If anybody has anything to offer more about it, we will elaborate a smidge on it as well. So I will offer you up here the first one. Fact or fiction for both of you gentlemen. Tom Brady will win the MVP and Super Bowl this season. Sam, we'll start with you.
Fact.
Okay.
I think the Patriots, their whole mentality of us against the world is that's just going to happen. I just see them continuing to roll. I don't see anybody really effectively standing in their way and giving them a great challenge.
Okay. David, your thoughts about this?
Fiction, yes, MVP, not the Super Bowl.
Ooh, interesting. Why not the Super Bowl?
I see the run ending. You don't know when, but New England is going to lose at some point.
It's like a storm. Storm is coming.
And whether that means Denver's defense does enough or Green Bay takes them in the Super Bowl, I do think the Patriots lose.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to have to go with fact on this one. I do believe that this is Tom Brady and the Patriots' year. I think he is out headhunting, literally taking names, making people look foolish, just cutting people off as he goes through the season. I just think that this is the year for Tom Brady and the Patriots. They look really, really good, and Brady's playing some of his best football. So if he doesn't win the MVP, I'd be a little shocked by that. Super Bowl, as you mentioned, David, I could see it slightly happening, but I do like the Patriots going forward. All right, the next fact or fiction, we will start with you on this one, David. Fact or fiction that Andrew Luck finishes his career in Indianapolis?
Fact, you don't let a quarterback like Andrew Luck go.
Sam?
Yeah, he pretty much just took the words out of my mouth. With a franchise quarterback like Andrew Luck, yeah, he's having an off year, but you take the good with the bad, and you're going to get more good out of bad long-term from Andrew Luck.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to go rogue. I'm going to say fiction on this one. I feel like he is going to have a hard time breaking out of his slump that he's going to have over the next year or two, and I think Indy is going to finally find somebody else that there's going to actually be producing well, and they're going to use him and trade him, personally. That's what I think about it.
That's fair.
But what do I know? All right, fact or fiction, we'll start with you on this one, Sam, that Jay Cutler finishes his career in Chicago.
For his sake, I hope it's fiction, but I think it's going to be fact. I really don't see the Bears giving him up. I think he'll do just enough in Chicago year in and year out to kind of stay in the mix. And like we talked about before, starting quarterbacks are a dime a dozen. I don't see the Bears just shipping him out unless they can really, really find a better option.
That is true. All right, David, your thoughts about that?
I will say fiction because I think the Bears will do everything they can to cut ties with him, whether that means cutting or trading for a late pick this offseason and take a chance with one of the rookies in the 2016 draft.
Oh, so you think it's going to be sooner rather than later. My goodness.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. I'm going to also say fiction. I think that, as you mentioned, David, that Jay will be lucky if he's on the team. I could see him maybe being on the roster next year, but I could definitely not see him being on the roster the following year after that. This is a relationship that has run its course, and the Bears and Cutler, I think, both would be better off if a mutual separation were to occur. All right, fact or fiction now here for you, David Kenyon, as we're chatting with David Kenyon of Bleacher Report here on the BG Sports Show. Fact or fiction, David, that Vernon Davis will end this season with 10 touchdown catches?
That's just a lofty number, right?
That is. That's
fiction,
why I threw it out there.
Fiction. He'll get a couple. I don't think he's going to go anywhere near that.
Okay, even though he just had a massive upgrade in his season and his overall production is more than likely going to go up?
Well, yeah, I mean, 10 touchdowns in, 9 games? I mean, that's a lot.
It's one a game. All you got to do is just do two for one game, and you're good to go. Sam, you're making faces at me. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I'm going to go with David here and go fiction. I don't see Vernon Davis being that big of an impact. If Peyton Manning had been throwing touchdowns consistently throughout the season, I might, give it a maybe. But no, at this late in the season, it's going to be too little, too late. I can see him scoring 5 or 6, maybe 7, but definitely not 10.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to go fiction on this one also. I think it's a pretty close thing that could happen, but there's too many other guys in Denver that are going to take away touches from Vernon Davis, so he would have to be exceptionally good on the amount of targets he is going to get. And Denver's got a great offense, but you got to keep Demaryius Thomas happy. You got to keep Emmanuel Sanders happy. That's who it is. So I say fiction for this one as well. All right, we'll start with you on this one, Sam. That fact or fiction that Ohio State will repeat as the national champion of college football.
Can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to go fact. I think there's too much talent on that team. They're too well coached. They just have the pedigree. They're just built and basically designed to win.
Okay.
And I think they will. They get over this JT Barrett hump. I really don't see it going on any longer than just this weekend. Maybe something else will happen, but I don't see it. And with Ezekiel Elliott running as awesome as he is out of that backfield, I think they're just going to be too good.
Yeah, and I find it interesting, too, that Ohio State is the 3rd seed right now, and they're favored still to win. Everything. So,
exactly.
David, your thoughts on this one, fact or fiction for Ohio State?
Oh, man. My guess all season, my prediction going into the year, it was always Ohio State. But it feels like they're just never going to get everything figured out.
Okay.
And going 2 games against elite teams, I see them falling. And for the first time all year, I'm going to say Ohio State does not win.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go fiction. I'm going to go fact on this one. I think Ohio State will be able to put all the pieces together. They're great at showing up in big games, and this just seems like this is going to be their last big hurrah while they've got all their star players, and this could be a big season for them. All right. We will start with you on this next one, David. 2 more to go here in fact or fiction. Fact or fiction that the Green Bay Packers need a new running back.
I mean, as opposed to what they already have or the starter, they don't need a new running back. Fiction. Do they need to bench Lacy? No, they don't need to do that either.
Okay, fair enough. Sam?
Yeah, I'm on board with David. What David said. Eddie Lacy, they drafted him for a reason. They went out and got him, kind of developed him into their feature back. Yeah, he hasn't done as well as a lot of people had hoped this year, especially for fantasy owners. I can understand that, but yeah, he's too talented. I think he finally admitted to being a little bit heavier than he used to be. I think he cut some weight, kind of gets his head back in the game a little bit. I think he's fine.
Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna go. See, I'm gonna take it in a different context. I'm gonna say fact, but I'm gonna say they need another running back on the team as a whole because I don't think Alonzo Harris is a suitable backup, and James Starks getting to the latter half of his career, and they need a good 1-2 punch that I feel like Starks and Lacy aren't producing that at the moment. So I'm fine with the running backs they have, but I think they need to add one more. Kind of took it in a different way. Anyway, last one. Sam, fact or fiction here that Johnny Football will start more games during the remainder of his career than RG3 will.
I'm gonna go fiction. I'm not sold on Manziel. I'm really not. Yeah, he's shown some talent. I think he just has too many on the field, off the field issues. Too much of a head case at times. I don't see it happening.
Okay, David, your thoughts?
As long as Washington rids themselves of RG3, meaning as long as RG3 finally gets out of there, then I will take. I believe it would be fiction, correct? And Griffin starts more.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you? I've heard different rumors about places he might go. I know that's such a hot topic that could really go just about anywhere. But yeah, I would have to agree with both of you gentlemen on this one too. I feel that Johnny Football, I think, is a decent quarterback, but I'm not completely sold on everything that is going his way. And in terms of everything going forward with RG3, I think Washington will get rid of him sooner rather than later, and Lord willing, they will finally be able to give RG3 an opportunity to re-emerge in his career. So I'm going to go fiction on that one. All right, so David, thank you so much for your time today, sir. We appreciate your contributions to the show. Hung out with us for 3 segments today. David Kenyon is a writer for Bleacher Report and The Sports Knot and Air Alamo. You can find him on Twitter at Kenyon19_BR. David Kenyon, a pleasure, sir, as it always is. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk with you again next week, sir.
All right, you got it.
All right, have a good one. All right, we're going to a break. When we come back, Panthers, Packers, Sunday. Who's going to win? Sam and I are going to talk about it and look at some of the matchups that folks should keep an eye on as well. We'll be right back. This is the BG Sports Show. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
All right, Sam. The Green Bay Packers. A. Rodgers, E. Lacey, T. Money. No, that's T. Swift. Anyway, she's not on the Packers. Anyway, Packers, Panthers, Sunday afternoon. How in the world could this game have gotten any better than what it's going to be right now?
What do you mean?
I mean the fact that the Panthers are undefeated. No one thought that was going to happen starting off the season. The Packers are 6-1, which take whatever you want to do on that one. But I think this game is going to be a very high-scoring, a very illustrious affair as a whole.
Yeah, you think so?
I do.
I
do. And then I think the game is going to start.
Yeah,
that's true. And then I think that Green Bay's defense is going to just basically open up and say, go, Cam, run. Do your things.
Run, Cam, run.
Run, exactly.
See Cam, run.
Exactly. No, I honestly think that this is going to be a very interesting game on Sunday between the Packers and the Panthers.
Yeah.
A shot at the number 1 team overall in the NFC is on the line. Carolina technically is the best team in the NFC right now.
They haven't lost.
That's true. So technically,
they're the best team.
I feel like these are the only 2 teams in the NFC that can really make an argument, though, for saying we're the best in the NFC, which I think is commendable on both sides. However, I do think that this is a game that Green Bay can win. Do I think that they're actually going to win? I don't know yet. I really don't know.
Yeah,
Carolina
that's
is
fair.
favored to win this game by a few points in terms of their power. ESPN's Football Power Index has Carolina a 52.7% favorite over Green Bay.
Barely.
In this one. I mean, it's not it's enough though to say that Carolina's favored in a game over the Packers.
And you can make up that difference probably just in home field advantage. The fact that it's in Carolina.
It is. It's a 2.5 spread, honestly. So I'm really not expecting. It's going to be a close game. I don't foresee this game being any more than 10-point difference at the most.
No, I mean, both teams come in scoring very close to identical points per game on offense and very good defenses traditionally so far this season, and only allowing less than 20 points a game between the two of them.
Yeah, it's been a great year for both defenses aside from, well, the one thing that bothers me, though, is that Green Bay has allowed 500 passing yards in 2 games this season against Phillip Rivers, which they won that game, and against Peyton Manning, where they basically got blown out of the stadium and on their way back to Green Bay.
Yeah, that was 500 yards of total offense, not
Total
pass
offense.
offense.
I'm sorry, total offense.
Yeah, but Phillip Rivers lit them up for 500 yards just through the air.
Yes, and I think anytime you allow an opposing team to go for 500 yards in any category, whether it's the team as a whole or a player, that has to ask so many questions of the defense.
Yeah. If you're letting the team walk up and down the field 5 different times total, that's too much.
Yes, no, I agree with you on that one. Looking at this game, Aaron Rodgers has just not played well the last few games. Let's be completely frank about it. He's looked pretty terrible.
He has.
And he looks like he should belong down in Houston with how bad he's playing.
Whoa, now. Whoa.
I'm just saying, these last few games, he has not looked good.
And again, we're looking at it through the lens that a lot of Packers fans look at it is we, as in Packer fans, are so used to seeing Aaron Rodgers be so totally dominant every week that if he's anything but, we have just this huge cause for concern. And I'll admit, there is some cause for concern. Last weekend, one of the stats you never really want to hear is that Alex Smith of the Chiefs had more rushing yards than Aaron Rodgers had passing yards.
Well, you have to also take the fact that Alex Smith played against the Lions. So
true, but still.
His numbers are padded.
True.
Either way, though, I get exactly what you're saying. There's really no excuse for Aaron Rodgers throwing for 77 yards, except for the fact that this is probably one of the best defenses that Denver has ever seen in the history of their team.
It's true.
I mean, you talk about a defense. I mean, Dan Le Batard on ESPN today said that he thinks that this Denver defense is better than the Seahawks 2013 defense.
I saw that, and we'll have to have a good conversation about that after, I would say probably give it another couple weeks. Let Denver get into the second half of their season a little bit, and if they're still being as dominant as they have been, we could definitely have a talk to see, are they as good as the Seahawks of a few years ago?
All right, so what for you, looking at this game, Sam, is something that needs to happen? If you are Green Bay and you're looking at this game and you're saying, all right, guys, I need you and you and you to step up in this game and actually perform.
I don't know if I could call it a specific player, even position, but as a defense, the Packers have traditionally struggled against very mobile quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah.
And Cam Newton is exceptionally, extremely mobile. And I think that there's going to be a lot of times where it'll be, second and long, third and long, or whatever, and Cam Newton is going to continue to move the chains.
Mm-hmm. No, and the first example I think of goes back to Colin Kaepernick in that playoff game in the 49ers-Packers game. Colin Kaepernick put on a running show basically that night. It was ridiculous.
He ran for almost 200 yards.
It was ridiculous, and I think obviously Green Bay learned from that and was able to figure things out accordingly. But going forward, as you mentioned, mobile quarterbacks have always been that kryptonite for this Packers defense. Yeah. Whether or not that ends up being the case, and I think that's going to be the case this week because Carolina doesn't have a lot of receivers for the defense to really hone in on.
No.
So they're going to be trying to maybe blitz a little bit more, force Cam out of the pocket, make him maybe run a little bit more, and try to put the game more on his back than on his arm.
Yeah, it could be a big, big day for Panthers tight end Greg Olsen. The Packers have, again, traditionally struggled against guarding very athletic, very versatile tight ends. I mean, we saw them give up 100 yards receiving to I would call average tight ends from Denver. They just weren't able to get pressure on Peyton Manning. I think that's going to be the key, is getting pressure on Cam Newton, but also containing him and not flushing him out of the pocket. Because if he is able to step up and suddenly there's 7 defenders behind him, he can really make some noise running down the field.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. I mean, Carolina's, I'm sure, going to do everything that they can to find the holes in that Packers defense that's already allowed over almost 1,100 yards this season, including 828 yards through the air.
Yeah.
And that's just been from the past 2 games.
Yeah. Their run defense has been good. It really has been. But like you said, their secondary has been suspect as usual.
It is. And one thing that worries me, too, is that the Packers, you look at the Packers defense, they're decent. Let's be honest. They're decent. They're a decent group of guys. They're
talented.
They were one of the top defenses in the NFL for most of the first half of the season. Let's be honest about that. You can't really take that away from them. However, Carolina has a weird rushing game, and Carolina has run for over 100 yards in 18 straight games, which is fantastic. Yeah. They're averaging 144 yards a game while on the ground, while Green Bay is 25th against the run, allowing 124 yards a game.
Like I said, it's going to be a clock burner for Carolina, and that's what's making me think it might not be as high scoring as we're thinking, looking at these two teams, because Carolina's just going to grind the clock, and I think they're going to continue to punch it in. Because they're so versatile down in the red zone. They can dump it off to Greg Olsen. They have a power running game. Newton can keep it himself. They have so many options when they get near the goal line that the Packers are really going to have to lock down on defense.
So looking at Green Bay, and you have to think about it from a perspective of, is this an offense that can keep pace with a fairly good Panthers defense? Because none of the receivers have really stepped up this season. We haven't seen a real emergence of Randall Cobb. Richard Rodgers has been just, I don't even know where he's been because he hasn't shown up pretty much this season. Ty Montgomery had a few spurts of brilliance.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams is fighting an injury, but he's back now. Who else do you look for? Do you look at Aberdarius? Do you bring in Jeff Janis? I mean, I haven't really been sold by any of these guys. James Jones was consistent for a while, but those were against bad defenses.
Yeah, I don't know. In answer to that question, you bring up a good point. I don't know who the Packers are going to be able to look to. I think Randall Cobb needs to step up. I know he's dealing with that shoulder injury, but the time has come for him to be like, all right, this is a big game. I need to step up my game, and Rodgers just needs to be able to throw him open.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that one. I don't understand how you can look at this game and say, all right, well, there's really no chance of this game of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, this is a game Aaron Rodgers needs to take over.
Yes, he
There's
does.
no way around it in terms of saying, all right, Rodgers can do whatever, it'll be no big deal. No, Aaron Rodgers needs to take the ball. He needs to look at Coach McCarthy and say, look, I'm going to run this game. I don't care what Tom Clements says. I don't care what you say. I know exactly what I need to do to beat this Panthers team because, as we mentioned earlier in the week, he was in that film room. He was just completely poring over how poor of a performance he had against Denver. He is mad, and he's kind of Tom Brady mad right now.
Let him off the leash and let him go.
Exactly.
And I think that's going to happen regardless because I don't see the Packers really establishing the run game on the road against a Luke Kuechly-led linebacker core.
No, I completely agree with you on that one. It's hard for me to think that this Packers team is going to do a lot from the run game the rest of the season, let alone this game against Carolina.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what is your prediction for this game going forward, Sam?
I'm going to say 24-20 Packers.
Okay, 24-20 Packers. I'm going to go with a little bit higher score because I think that Cam Newton is going to have a bit of a coming out party in this game. I'm going to go 31-28 Green Bay.
All
right. Let us know your thoughts. Get us on Twitter at BG Sports Show, at Baxter Colburn, at Samuel_Wallace. We'll step aside for one more break. When we come back, Connor Christensen is here for his Fight Corner. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be right back. This is the BG Sports Show. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Got a little bit of a funky jazz jam there rolling through here as we wrap up the show. Another great show so far. Special thanks to Bleacher Report's David Kenyon for coming on the program today, and he was joining us for 3 different segments today, so it was great to get him back on the program after a hiatus that was not pleasant, and we missed him very much, and there was grave weeping and gnashing and rending of garments, but he's back now, so we're glad that he's back. So before we bring in Connor Christensen, we want to remind you that one of our sponsors of the show is Student Debt Center of America. Help yourself and help out the BG Sports Show at the same time. How, you ask? Well, by calling 855-401-3508. You can call now to inquire about your student loans being reduced. That number is 855-401-3508 to make one easy student loan payment. 855-401-3508 to stop or avoid garnishments from your check. That number, one more time, is 855-401-3508. Call them today. That is Student Debt Center. They will help you out and reduce some of that student loan debt because let's be honest, we all have it. So, all right, well, I am back. We are joined now in the studio by Connor Christensen. Good morning, Connor. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to have you back on the program here. It is Thursday, which means it is time for your Fight Corner.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of great things to get to today, so the floor is yours, sir.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about UFC 193. It's
all right.
Coming up on the 14th. Ronda's going to take the octagon by storm. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. There's going to be Lots of good fights. So let's start in here. I'm going to talk about
That was very descriptive. Very good. Great.
Very good fights.
Wonderful.
Yes.
All right.
So I'm going to talk about the main fight card and kind of who I think will come out on top in certain fights.
All right.
So the first fight is Stefan Struve versus Jared Rosholt. This is a heavyweight fight. They both weigh in at 265 pounds. Now, Stefan, his nickname is the Skyscraper. He is 7 feet tall.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's gonna that when I saw that stat, I was like, wow, he is 7 feet tall, and his arms are 84 inches long. Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah, his wingspan is ridiculous.
He's a very large gentleman.
Rosholt is 6'2", and his reach is 75 inches, so there's a slight disadvantage there.
Okay.
However, I'm still giving the fight to Rosholt. I do think that he will win. So, Rosholt is a fantastic wrestler. He was a 3-time D1 All-American in college, and just a very, very good wrestler. Stefan Struve is mostly a submissions guy, so he uses his very large frame to kind of bend you in ways that you don't want to be bended, and then you tap out, essentially.
That makes sense, yeah. It's like, all right, enough. All right, I'm sorry.
But I don't think his submissions are going to be enough to handle the superior wrestling of Rosholt, and I think that Rosholt is going to take it for the entire fight, and it's going to go to unanimous decision, but I do think Rosholt is going to win that fight.
Okay, interesting.
Yes, now moving on to Uriah Hall versus Robert Whitaker. This is a middleweight, which is 185 weight class. I was reading some stuff, and a lot of people are taking Whitaker in this fight. I have to disagree. I think Uriah Hall is going to win the fight. I think Uriah Hall has one of the heaviest hands. I think he has some of the most knockout power out of anyone in his division.
Okay.
So I think Uriah Hall's been kind of inconsistent lately, which is where they're taking Robert Whitaker, is because Uriah Hall isn't fighting very well right now. But I do think that he's going to see the need, especially in a big event like a UFC 193, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I
think
think
it would be expected in a big game like this. You want to step up.
Exactly. So I think he's going to knock him out in round 2, late round 1 or round 2. I think he's going to knock him out. Moving on to Mark Hunt versus Antonio Silva. This is another heavyweight fight. Mark Hunt being 265 and Antonio Silva being 264. So there's not much difference there. Mark Hunt is, oh my goodness, his hands have so much power. He can knock you out by, his hands looking at you type of power.
That's scary.
Yeah. Antonio Silva's not one to take a punch like that very well. He'll go down fairly quickly if he gets if a heavy hand connects with his chin.
Okay.
And the only difference is Antonio Silva is a better all-around fighter. Mark Hunt doesn't have very good conditioning. He can't fight for too long without getting tired, type of thing. So if Antonio Silva can draw out the fight, I think he can win, but I have to give it to Mark Hunt. I think he's going to land one of his big hands, and Silva's going to go down.
That's hard to recover from something like that, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be KO in pretty much the same thing, if late round 1, early round 2.
Okay.
Next, we have Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Valerie Letourneau. And Letourneau is a wrestler, and Jędrzejczyk is a brawler. So it's going to be an interesting fight. I think it's going to be a long, drawn-out fight, but Jędrzejczyk is fighting too well right now. I've been talking about her since...
I've heard you mention her name multiple times on the show.
I think she's too good. I don't think Letourneau... And Letourneau is a good fighter, don't get me wrong. She's a very good fighter, but I don't think she's going to be able to handle the brawling style of Jędrzejczyk. So Jędrzejczyk is going to win by TKO probably about round 3.
Oh, my. Okay.
Yeah. And next, finally, we have Bae.
The
Ronda.
big one.
We have Ronda,
that lady, that wonderful lady.
And Holly Holm. This is very interesting because I think Holly Holm is going to be the person that can give Ronda the best fight she's had so far. Holm needs to come out. She needs to be aggressive. She needs to land strikes on Ronda, and she cannot be taken down. If Ronda takes her down even once,
done.
Ronda wins.
KO, game over. Thanks for stopping. Good day to you.
Yeah, but it's Ronda's too good. You can't pick against her. So
no, I don't think
do
anybody
Ronda,
ever will.
I do think Ronda's going to win.
What do you think about Ronda saying that she wants to win a WWE title?
It's a little different just because WWE fights are scripted.
Yeah.
So they're not. And I mean, I'm not to say that those professional wrestlers aren't fantastic athletes, because they are. They have to be.
Yeah.
And it is very, very physical, very painful what they go through on a daily basis.
No kidding, yeah.
And their training is ridiculous. However, I think that'd be kind of cool if Ronda, walks out holding the Divas title
Like,
and
what up?
and
That would be
the
boss.
UFC title. I think that'd be kind of cool. I'd be all right with it.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Ronda.
Go after it. Are you going to be able to watch the fight at all, Connor?
I do not think so.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we had plans to watch the fight, but a friend of mine contacted me I haven't seen in a couple of years, so I'm gonna have to see him.
Understandable. Understandable. All right. Well, thank you for stopping by, Connor. Always a pleasure, sir. We will check in with you again on Monday. So, as we always say, good luck to your fantasy team. Good luck to your Vikings.
Well, thanks.
Big weekend for your Vikings. Hope for the best against them.
Yeah,
So,
me
all
too.
right. Well, thanks again for tuning in to another edition of the BG Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Sam Wallace was my co-host today, as he does every day from Monday through Friday from 7 to 8 a.m. Central. Remember, you can get us live on Spreaker.com and on Periscope. Thanks for watching us on Periscope. It was great to see all of you today. Some chiming inners from Russia and all over the great, wonderful world. So thank you for that. And you can also get us on Sports Radio America from 11 to 1 p.m. Central Time on Sports Radio America, live 365 and tune in, and on demand anytime you want on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and on Spreaker.com. On social media, we are on Facebook at The BG Sports Show. I am on Twitter at Baxter Colburn. Samuel is Samuel_Wallace. And our Twitter handle is at BG Sports Show. And on Instagram, we are also BG Sports Show as well. If you want to get a hold of the show, get us an email at bgsportshow@gmail.com. Special thanks to Bleacher Report's David Kenyon for joining us on the broadcast today, and for Connor Christensen as well. For Sam Wallace, I am Baxter Colburn. We'll see all of you again tomorrow for our Friday edition. You're not going to want to miss it. Enjoy your Thursday, guys. See you later.